Hello and welcome everyone to Talent500 YouTube channel. I am Soumya, a software engineer and an educator. In this tutorial, which is part 3 of the interview series of Kotlin, we will talk about some more advanced and some more important questions of Kotlin if you are going for an interview, especially for mobile application developer role and that too Android app developer, then indeed Kotlin is something which is going to be asked to you a lot. So let's get started and revise all the significant concepts of Kotlin. Interview questions Kotlin part 3. Let's see the first question, that is, what do you understand about companion object in the context of Kotlin? So let me explain that in Kotlin, if you want to write a function or any member of the class that can be called without having instance of the class, then you can write the same as a member of companion object inside the class. I'll give you the example and then it will make more sense to you. So basically, by declaring the companion object, you can access the members of the class by class name only, that is without explicitly creating the instance of the class. So let's say if I'm making companion object inside my class. Okay, I'm making a companion object inside my class. Then in that case, I can access the members of the class by just the name of the class. I won't need to create a new object instance for my class. Okay, and to create a companion object, you just have to add one keyword, that is companion keyword. And yes, in front of the object declaration, just put this companion keyword and you will be good to go. So a companion object is not inheritable. Okay, it is not inheritable, but it can inherit from another class or implement interfaces. This is one of the reasons that a companion object is similar to static declarations in Java and C#. A companion object is similar to other objects such as instance of a class. However, only a single instance of a companion object will exist for the duration of the program. Only a single instance of companion object will exist. Okay, will exist over the duration of your program, and that is why it is sometimes called as singleton pattern as well. Singleton pattern as well. And many times we create two different objects of the same class. You would have also noticed that many times in our program we create kind of two objects of the same class, right? But we have to remember that creating two different objects also requires the allocation of two different memories for the object, right? So it is better to make a single object and use it again and again if possible, right? And let me give you the syntax example, like how do we exactly create a companion class. Okay, so let's say this is your, I'm writing here example of companion object. So this is the syntax. So let's say you have a class, name of the class is, for example, ABC for now, right? And inside this class, in case if you create a companion object, and let's say name of this is CO, companion object, for example, and inside this you may keep some more maybe function, variable, anything which you want to, right? Let's say I am writing fun check, a function with the name check I am creating, and I want this to return maybe println something like testing. Okay, perfect. So I created a class, right? Inside this class, I have one companion object. Name of the companion object is CO, right? It is CO. So in case if I want to access the variables or functions inside this companion object, I can simply write class name. Let's say I want to create an object, I want to access everything inside this object, so I can just do abc dot co, class name dot whatever the object name is, I mean companion object's name is. And if in case you don't give any name here, then by default you can access it with abc dot companion, this way, dot companion. So in case if you remove the name of the companion object, then you can use the keyword companion itself, that is by default the name of the companion object. The name of this companion object will be companion only. So in case if you want to access the members of the companion object, you can simply do class name dot companion if you don't want to give a name to your companion object. Okay, and that's why that's how I mean we can directly access everything with the help of companion object. Make sense, right? And in the beginning only I told you, I mean it is similar to any other object, but I mean it helps you in directly accessing the objects, in directly accessing the members, right? This concept is very helpful, especially for app developers. Let's say you are writing your app in Kotlin, then this is really one of the most useful features, companion object. If you have to use that particular variable in your program, in your project, and you just want one instance of it, then companion object is the keyword that you must use. Like let's say if you create something like any constant variable or in general val, where anything, and you want to access it later in your project, you can easily do it with the help of the companion object. You won't need to create instance of that class repeatedly. I mean you can just access it using the class name, like detail activity as well. The class name here is detail activity, right? Let me quickly write the code in the studio itself so that you get a better understanding, right? Because practical makes more sense always. So let's say I want to create a companion object, and let's name it test. Okay, let's name it test, and inside this I will create a function. Let's give it a name, Talent500. Okay, Talent500 is the name of the function, is equal to, I want to print something, print ln, and let's write here learning Kotlin. Okay, and after that, if I want to access this Talent500, the function, that what it returns, then what I can do is I can maybe, like this is the class inside which I have the companion object. So if I go outside this class and I try to create a function, maybe I can give it a name, function calling, or function fn testing. Okay, and here if I want to access this, then I can simply do name of the class, that is main activity. Main activity dot, you can see you are getting all the options here. Talent500, if I want to access this function, I can simply do that, right? I can simply do that here. So I mean this is as simple as it looks, and if you will run, then you will get the output as learning Kotlin. Okay, learning Kotlin. Now let's move ahead to the second question. I'm going to do a screencast again, and this is your second question. Explain about the when keyword. So the when keyword is used in Kotlin to substitute the switch operator. If you already know any other programming language, if you have been writing code in any other language like C++, etc., you would be knowing about the switch keyword, right? Switch keyword. So the when keyword in Kotlin is used to substitute the switch operator in other languages like Java. when a certain condition is met. When a certain condition is met, then a specific block of code must be run, and that is where the when keyword in Kotlin comes into picture. Inside the when expression, it compares all of the branches one by one until a match is discovered, and after finding the first match, it proceeds to the conclusion of the when block and executes the code immediately following the when block. And we do not need a break statement here. No need of break statement. In Switch we need break statements, but here we do not need a break statement at the end of each case, unlike switch cases in Java or any other programming language. So let me write the sample code for this so that you get a better understanding. Basically syntax of when keyword in Kotlin. So like see here very with all the attention, I mean it's very important. So let's say if I have a variable var temp, okay, temp is the name of the variable, and if I write here maybe Talent500, okay, Talent500, so I can do something like this here. When I get temp out of all the options, so I have to give some options here, like first option can be interview, right? Second option can be learning. Third option can be job, and we can have success as well. So here or like I have given Talent500, so at least one of these should have that name, right? One of these should have that name. So maybe I can do something like this, Talent500, and then I have success as well as one of the options here. And now so it will check when temp is temp is equal to interview. No, it is not. Is temp equal to learning? No. Is temp equal to job? No. Is temp value equal to Talent500? Yes. So we got the match here. So let's say if you are writing here, maybe we can do like print ln something, and here maybe you are writing learning from best, right? So it will check the value of temp matches the value of the 1 2 3 4th, the fourth option, right? These two are matching, so it will execute this much part. It will execute whatever is written here. So it will print learning from the best, okay, learning from the best. So this is the basic syntax for when keyword. It is quite important in Kotlin, I mean very handy, as you would be knowing switch is very useful in other programming languages. So in the same way when is very important here in Kotlin. You can see replace switch with when keyword. Switch we used to write like this. Switch we used to give an option here, and then if the case matches then it used to execute the respective code block, right? In the same way when, it will check with all conditions. If any condition is met, then it will execute the piece of code, the block of code that is there in that respective condition, that is associated with that respective condition. Perfect. Awesome. So now let's move ahead and proceed to the next question. So this is our next question. What do you understand about sealed classes in Kotlin? So Kotlin introduces a crucial new form of class that is not seen in Java. I mean you won't see the concept of sealed classes in Java. These are referred to as sealed classes, and sealed classes, as the name is a bit self-explanatory, as the name implies, it dare to constrained or bounded class hierarchies. Bounded class hierarchies. Okay, a sealed class is one that has a set of subclasses. It has a set of subclasses. Another very important thing is type safety. Type safety. So with the help of the sealed classes, type safety is ensured. Now if you don't know what type safety is, so let me explain type safety as well quickly. This is very important programming concept once again. So these important fundamental ones are very very crucial. I mean, whenever you are going in any interview and you don't know about these small terms like sealed classes in Kotlin, what is type safety, when keyword, etc. I mean, it won't make sense to learn harder things when you are not sure about the easier ones, right? So type safety, that is the compiler will validate types during compilation. During compilation, the compiler validates the type. Compiler validates the type of all the variables, and it throws an exception. If a wrong type has been assigned to any variable. So type safety means the compiler basically validate types of variables during the compilation, and it throws an exception if a wrong type has been assigned to a variable. And this type safety is ensured with the help of sealed classes. It limits the types that can be matched at compile time rather than runtime. So somewhere the sealed classes, it take cares of type safety as well. And let me tell you another very significant aspect of this. Another important thing about sealed classes is that distinguishing aspect of sealed class is that their constructors are by default private. Their constructors are by default private constructors by default. Okay, by default. And due to the fact that a sealed class is automatically abstract, it cannot be instantiated. It cannot be instantiated. And why not? Because a sealed class is automatically abstract. It is automatically abstract. Perfect. Awesome. And let me now help you with the syntax of sealed classes, how sealed classes are written. So syntax of sealed class, and here we go. Like first of all, you have to use the keyword sealed, then class, then after that you can follow the usual way. Name of the class name, and then closing and opening and closing braces. So something like sealed class, and you can write maybe main activity, and then opening and closing braces. So this is the syntax of sealed classes, and these are some of the important characteristics of sealed classes. It ensures type safety, and by default its constructors are private, and it can't be instantiated. Okay, the sealed classes, it cannot be instantiated because it is automatically abstract. Okay, it is automatically abstract. And yes, apart from that, I've already covered the basics of it, right? Perfect. So let's move ahead and check out the next question, right? Kotlin sealed classes we already covered very well. So what is the equivalent of Java static methods in Kotlin? It is very important and you must know. So basically you should at least know what are the equivalent of Java static methods in Kotlin, because mostly what happens is the Kotlin developers are kind of old acquaintances of Java only, right? Some or the other day you would have written code in Java and now you're slowly migrating into Kotlin, or it maybe vice versa, or maybe you are completely new to Kotlin. So you must know What are the equivalent of Java static in Kotlin? So for an object which is required to be created only once and used everywhere, we use the concept of singleton pattern. Okay, singleton pattern. Basically, singleton pattern is a software design pattern that restricts the instantiation of the class to only one instance. So to implement this singleton pattern in our project or software, we use the concept of singleton class. Okay, singleton class. So once the concept of singleton pattern is clear in your mind, you better understand, I mean, why do we exactly use a singleton class? Because we want to use the concept of singleton pattern. We want to use or create object which is required only once and can be used everywhere, right? So a singleton class is a class. Let me create a new page. So singleton class is such a class that is defined in a way that only one instance, only one instance of the class can be created. Only one instance of the class can be created and used everywhere. Perfect. All right. So singleton class are such classes that is defined in a way that only one instance of that class can be created and used everywhere. It is used where we need only one instance of the class, like database services or maybe network services, etc., right? Where only application of singleton pattern is where only one instance of class is needed. Example database service and network service. Generally it is done because it takes the resources of the system to create these objects again and again, right? Whenever you will create object 1, 2, 3 and so on, so obviously the system resources will be needed there to create objects once or multiple times, right? So it is better to create only one and use it again and again, I mean, based on your need, right? And these two are the properties of singleton class. Number one property, only one instance. Okay, only one instance. So singleton class has only one instance, and this is done by providing an instance of the class within the class. Also, outer classes and some classes should be prevented to create the instance. Okay, and property 2 is it is globally accessible. So the instance of the singleton class should be globally accessible so that each and every class in your project can use it. These two are the most significant properties, that singleton classes are globally accessible and only one instance, only one object of the singleton classes can be created. Perfect. These two are the properties here. Only one instance and it is globally accessible. Now let's move ahead to the next question. What are init blocks in Kotlin? So the code inside the init block, init block is the first to be executed when the class is instantiated. It is first to be executed. When class is instantiated. So the init block is run every time the class is instantiated with any kind of constructor, as like I'll show you an example. And multiple initializer blocks can also be written in a class. I'll give you one example of that as well, so you can understand, I mean, how multiple init blocks can be written inside one class. And Kotlin init, the initializer block contains the code that is always executed whenever any instance of the class is created. So this is the basic syntax of init. Okay, and let me give you one example here, the syntax of how we can write multiple init blocks inside our class. All right, so class, let's say the name is multi init. I want to see how multiple init blocks are written, right? I can write here the name, the type here is a string, and opening and closing braces. So inside the init block, this is the first init block, right? You can print here something like first init block, okay, and you can have the second init block as well. The syntax will obviously be similar, print second init block. Okay, and after that, let's say inside the multi init class only, if you have a function, let's say name of the function is main only, yeah, means it will be having the argument of array of a string. You would already be aware of all these, main function basically. And inside this, if I write var multi init, basically I am creating an object of the class multi init, and I can pass here any string, right? Anything, my name or Talent500, anything. So whenever the object of the class multi init is created, firstly this init block will be instantiated, this will be called, and after that the second init block will be called. This is the syntax to understand how multiple init blocks can be written inside the same class. So some, like, interviewer might ask you that can we write multiple init blocks in a class in Kotlin? So obviously yes, the answer is yes. The init blocks, which is the first to be executed whenever the class is instantiated, and we can obviously create two init blocks inside the same class in Kotlin. So I hope all these concepts are clear to you. These are very significant topics when we talk about Kotlin. Revise it, and yes, all the very best for your interview as well.